Hey everybody. So I was just looking at the garbage bin going like, oh, I forgot to take the garbage out. That's okay. So I know I wasn't gonna go on today. I was gonna give myself a couple days off, but I will give myself tomorrow off. But I just can't stop thinking about this new revelation when it comes to the hormones and then the feelings that are attached to these hormones. And it's just really like had me thinking about just what the state of my relationship that I'm in, with my marriage, and then what would bring people together. And my marriage is great, so just so you know, so nothing is wrong with that. But I'm just looking at now what is exactly driving me in my relationships since I don't have these hormones, these hormonal fluctuations that influence and dictate what is real and what is not. So let me kind of circle back a little bit and tell you exactly where I'm coming from and then, where I'm going with this. So I since discovered that hormones, okay, have everything to do with feelings, okay? And all the feelings and reactions are based on the hormones. We have a name for it. We have a name for love, okay? And that's a hormone. It's pleasure. Love is pleasure, okay? Um, the anger is the lack of serotonin and dopamine and all those different pleasure centers that are in absence of. So anger and disgust and depression and all of that is, well, actually, anger is also even adrenaline. So let's start looking at the different hormones. So depression is the lack of serotonin and dopamine. Anger is the adrenaline. Okay. And then, give me one second here. We have a lot of parasites that are around us right now that don't like this information. And I'm very aware of that because parasites, who is this? Space Cadet, Zachary, Will, Dimma Daddy? Oh, a troll. Gotta love trolls. Jugalo, a juggalo. Great, we had a clown in our midst. Okay, so anyways, um, so let's just take a look at the revelation of love. Okay, because that's the most influential hormone ever. The pleasure center is insane. And that's where drugs get created to tap into that pleasure center, that hormone. And the illicit drugs, along with also drugs out there in the open market prescription drugs. Um, and then, and then now we have, well, yeah, marijuana is another thing that taps into that pleasure center. It induces a hormone. And then also too, I mean, sex and reproduction. When you're on a death trajectory, when you're in pain, a hormone gets produced to try to help soothe that pain and try to help you manage to get through so you're not completely freaking out. Um, so, and there are triggers. So let me go through, because I don't really have anything really like set that I'm trying to say, because I'm trying to work through all of this. Okay. So I'm going to go through my own newsfeed. And I did this video yesterday. When you are a slave to your hormones, you suffer. Activists are hormone driven. Okay? All suffering and emotions, happy, sad, loving, angry, surprised, is hormone driven. And Joaquin, you're right. Very interesting how all your information gives me more clearance on the issues I have to deal with for years now. Getting more clarity. Very good, good, good. Okay? Emojis are hormone driven. So every single emoji that you put, the anger, that little jugalo, that little clown that was angering, he has an absence or he has adrenaline. When you feel like you're in imminent danger, you get angry. That is a survival instinct. There's no imminent danger here, but this is where the hormones get you cattywampus. Okay, so emojis are hormone driven. Happy, sad, love, sad, surprised, fearful, angry, depressed, sarcastic. Unemotional on a life trajectory, or unemotional on a death trajectory. Okay? Because you can be unemotional on a death trajectory and then you can go and kill somebody because you have no life, you have no pro-life type of background, no empathy, no nothing, you have no respect for life. And that is then what exemplifies in, Chris Watts and, Scott Peterson, Jodi Arias. Those were those examples that I gave a couple, days ago about these, what would make psychopaths do what they do. And it's in the absence of empathy. They are unemotional, but emotional. Like they have no respect for life. Okay. So one is deadly. Emotional on a death trajectory, no, because you can be emotional on death trajectory and commit acts of violence and death. And even if it isn't like, actually killing somebody, you try to kill somebody's spirit. So when you're emotional on a death trajectory, which is basically everybody in the freaking matrix, and they act out relative to their hormones, it can be very scary. It can be very entertaining relative to how bad they are, right? Emotional on a life trajectory, healing, and then logical with empathy type of balance. Then, and I said immortality, okay? So I'm not putting that off the table. It's a little weird to talk about immortality because no one ever talks about it, but that's the potential if you understand where I'm coming from. So, all right. So empaths are imbalanced. It's an emotion that doesn't consider logic in the equation. Empaths are hormone driven. They are the ones that plaster love and acceptance, and they're doing meme after meme after meme about, it's all about love. Everything's about love, 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 love. Like everything's about love. They speak no evil, no hatred, no anger, no nothing. It's all about love. And those types of people triggered me. And I never could figure out why. And I'm thinking like, what am I deficient in that I'm getting triggered? And I'm, further along than everybody on the protocol. So why am I getting triggered? What's the deal here? So that was something I was working through. So then I figured out empaths are imbalanced because also when I dealt with empaths, some of them are very judgmental. So they come from love until they bite you in the ass. And if you trigger them where it's not love, 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 wow, their reaction to you not following their whatever is like, holy crap. And that's okay. Cause I'm the same way, but I don't get, yes, I get triggered in some ways, but I'm trying to get away from the negative energy, but that's all relative based upon your emotions. And that's where the stories come in, right? So, I'm working through my own stuff. So I understand how negative energy impacts, but now I'm coming from a very different perspective. And I understand the need for some negative energy because, to clearly understand the balance between the two, you have to have both negative and positive, or we wouldn't know, or we would be dead because we have so much one, but not the other. It is about balance, but it's also about protecting yourself and knowing the type of negative energy that you welcome and the other types that you don't. And that's going to be a journey for everyone, right? So empaths are in balance. It's an emotion that doesn't consider logic in the equation. Empaths are hormone driven, but they will never admit it because they're all about love. And we've been told a story about love that we all should love, everybody should love. The world would run better if it was all run by love, right? So all categories in the matrix are hormone driven. Everything, anything that you put yourself in a category, whatever it is, religion, procreation category, whatever it is based upon hormones. The juggalos, all the different, the interest groups that are out there, hormone driven. The Green Party, the environmentalists, the chemtrails, the 5Gers, Illuminati people, everything that you see on the internet, the against child trafficking, the pro-vax, anti-vax, GMO versus, organic, all hormone driven because logic doesn't play a part because it's about emotion, it's about hormones, it's about love, and it's about anger, and it's about adrenaline, and it's about depression, then lack of serotonin or lack of certain hormones. Okay, so so this is one of the revelations that I had. When you rely on somebody else to make you happy, whether it is sympathy or procreation or anything else, you are now dependent upon somebody else and you're not self-sufficient. And that is suffering because you are inducing hormones, which is a drug, and feelings are a drug, which is why people stay in their current circumstances or find ways to tap into whatever feeling they want to feel, and why they don't change because they're addicted to the opioid effects of hormones that are attached to feelings that we've become to know so well in our society, especially on Facebook. Facebook is a drug because it is hormone driven, and you will pick the areas of which hormone is going to get triggered. That's why the activists beget each other. They are triggering each other with a hormonal drug effect. They are each other's drug, and they reinforce their drugs on each other. Because drugs aren't just taking some kind of pill. Drugs are also the energy that induces a feeling. Okay? Imbalanced relationships are hormone driven. This is why domestic violence is huge. It is hormone driven. All the different therapies are hormone driven, whether it's psychotherapy, psychology, immunotherapy, physical therapy, all the therapies out there, CBD therapy, chemotherapy, it is hormone driven. They have an opioid effect. And we trade one hormone driven addiction to another. So it could be pills, powders, and supplements, prescription drugs, cannabis, to rife machines, to anything that manages your cancer, disease, and chronic illness in the matrix, in the allopathic and the holistic market. It's all a type of drug. Now, there are some more socially acceptable drugs, but it's still a drug because everything that we take is about hormones, balancing out the hormones. When we create or we mutate somebody in the form of what, like, let's say, MMA, they are totally taking steroids and different types of hormone-driven drugs, hormone-inducing drugs to, mutate their body to be really, really big muscles to where they have no fear. So they go into the ring, the octagon, and get the shit kicked out of them, and they still do it. They have no pain. You think these people that are on MMA or Olympics are really like, the person like you and me? No, they are being manipulated by hormones, by drugs. Drugs are hormones. Okay? So love and sex and reproduction are hormone driven, which can be addicting. So when people get into relationships that are based upon sex, and then ends up like in death, just like Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander, that whole relationship, he was Mormon and she wasn't, she converted, that was based upon a drug, which was the love and sex addiction. And then having this fantasy of what, their future, what her future with him could have been based upon the societal pressures. Having a family, having a husband that, will take care of your needs. Okay. And then, so you have this programming, and then you have the hormones that are then getting in the way and then reinforcing or get in the way. And then you have this crazy outcome. Okay. What else? All media is hormone driven. It is a type of addiction. Whenever you read something, someone tells you something, and it's like shocking to you, that creates a hormone. It creates anger, depression. And especially like for me, I'm very sensitive around, animals, like pets that are abused. That sucks. I'm very sensitive. Now, there are certain things that I've come to accept that some people say, hey, if you want no animals to die, then you should be a vegetarian. And that comes in time. But there are things that that are in the media that will trigger you into reacting. And it is a drug when you're always watching fear stuff. When someone's passed on fear, the whole thing with the vaccine, anti-vax community, that whole platform is a drug. The GMO versus organic, that whole platform reinforces hormones. The pleasure center of creating a fight or flight type of hormone. Okay, no different than when you're working out, you're creating a hormone because it's a way to relieve stress. So you create a hormone. It's like a painkiller type of hormone. Okay, so when you hang out with certain people who are always depressed or full of drama, A lot of people watch drama because it's a drug. Yes, consumerism is a drug too. Everything. Yes. When you are always tapping and you're trying to look for your pleasure center, somebody always trying to tap into their pleasure center, whether it's buying stuff, consumerism, sex, love, relationships, whatever. When you're looking to for when I'm looking forward to going out to eat, I know that's a drug. Now I'm like, there is nothing right now that I can think of. Like right now, like what is this Christmas Eve? And I'm thinking like, what can I do? We have no plans. We know we got to get some stuff. I'm thinking like, what can we do? Oh, we can go out to eat. But that doesn't even like, um, hey, you're welcome, Deborah. But that doesn't even, make me excited going out to eat because my pleasure center, I don't have that need to tap into that pleasure center. But I remember like 6 or 7 months ago going to get waffles was something totally exciting. Okay. So it's like, what is there to look forward to, right? This is going to be the new things. What's there to look forward to? Because you're not now driven by your pleasure center. Okay. So the goal of Jilly Juice is to end the suffering in humanity who chooses life. So this is where the common denominator is, the common foundation. It is life. Life indefinitely and quality of life, not just bringing in a life and saying, okay, now I'm bringing in a life, like different than adopting a dog and then the dog just go to crap and then having the dog expire and then you get a new dog. No, this is about taking life that you have, whether it's an animal, your pet, or your children or yourself, and you give the best quality of life to where that animal lives indefinitely, where your child lives indefinitely, where you have actually taken care of those mutations in yourself, your family, which is hard because your family has their own mind. But if they're young, they still are influenced by you, so you definitely have power, and your animals. Okay? So when you have love, when you are totally imbalanced with love, so much love, then you have suffering because what happens in the absence of love? You don't have the love. So what do? You get depressed. You look for that thing that causes you to have love. That's where the whole dependency comes from. When you are dependent upon somebody to tap into your pleasure center is when you have ceased being an independent person. And this is super huge because those that are always pursuing pleasure on a continuous basis have to depend on somebody else to give them that. They have nothing in within themselves. So whether it's a person, a drug, whether prescription drug or cannabis, okay, or a situation, when you are dependent on somebody giving these specific pleasures, whatever it is, however it manifests, just like even Facebook. Do I get off? Do I get addicted to this? Yeah, I do. But I'm doing it in a way that, I mean, it's not like an addiction in a bad way. It's an addiction that I am now on a pro-life, pro-quality life role. And when I don't see you guys, like on the news feed, it affects me. It does. Because I'm drawing something. There is something that I'm getting for the fact that I see 14 people that are watching versus 0. It's a trip how much other people affect us. But then that's the way we can channel it in the right direction. That's the key thing, right? Okay, so the goal is to be on a life trajectory, okay? And communicate without reacting from emotions of any kind. Now that's difficult because we're so used to hitting the love button, the angry button, the surprise button. When you hit like, there is nothing that says like, well, even like or unlike. But like is just, whatever, right? But when you have an unlike button, then you have the two, the I like and the unlike, just like in YouTube. I took away the user ratings on my YouTube account. First, Kevin suggested it because it would help maybe with views, but it doesn't matter if I get a lot of views. If people watch it, great. If they don't, whatever. But I still will take the user ratings off because it is an influence. When you see so many unlikes or so many angries, it does influence a person, okay? So the goal is to be on a life trajectory and communicate without reacting from emotions of any kind. If I post something or comment, your goal is not to respond with laughter, love, anger, or surprise. All emotions are hormone driven. People still stuck on the stories around all of the information because they don't know the laws. So all the information I'm giving you is just straight up information. That's why I'm not like I don't make my writing entertaining because I'm not trying to tap into somebody's pleasure center. I am straight up, information, dry as fuck, dry as hell. You know, so Kevin is, he's still doing his thing, right? And he's very good at what he does, and he's still healing. And he's creative. He understands how to use emotions, how to use the hormones that are still within his body to be able to draw you guys in that are still hormonal. I'm in a completely different hemisphere right now, and I know it. And it's not always going to elicit good responses from people who are still in the hormone stage. A lot of religious types right now are kind of veering away from where I'm going, which is perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. Okay? Because a lot of certain religions, first of all, don't believe in immortality, for one. Number two, they come from so much unrequited love, or so much love, that they can't possibly even fathom that love is a hormone. Okay? Or the feeling of love isn't something from, spirituality. You can have the universe guide you without having it be described as love. Okay? So when I post triggering emotions, like I said about the empaths, I purposely went after the empaths because they're the biggest ones that talk about love. I purposely targeted. Okay? So when I post triggering emotions, I'm working through stuff. And it is a way to test the capacity of my audience. Those that react emotionally in a negative emotion. I don't mind love, as if they love it, that's fine. I can handle the love. But those that react emotionally are not ready for this way of life. They're not. They are still working through their hormone-driven life. Because that is what our society is based on. We're on a death trajectory because we're triggering hormones. And then you get all this creative stories. How many stories that are out there that we don't even know if it's true or not, but man, it's so entertaining. It's addicting. The Illuminati is addicting. MK Ultra, beta sex slaves, all these different stories around people's death trajectory is so addicting. The politics, so addicting. The stories, between the MMA fighters, the boxers, the stories, the soap operas. Okay. So the feelings of love are driven by hormones, and this is why there's so many relationships that go south, because they mistake love with hormones, and vice versa, and other misconceptions around relationships. Love comes from reproduction, which is driven by hormones. It is a sign of a death trajectory. Who did it? Oh, okay. And so this is where, some of the people in the Messianic Jews group, or religion, some people couldn't handle this information. Like in the beginning, some of these Messianic Jews loved my stuff because I wasn't talking about immortality. I wasn't talking about, this thing with the spirit and hormones and all that. As soon as I went to science, hey, Michelle Turner, as soon as I went to science and I started talking about immortality, they are lost. They're like, nope, can't do it, can't believe it. It totally conflicts with what I've been told. I understand, Kevin. You don't have to agree with it, but just understand it. Because here's the thing. Right now, I'm at a specific place. Okay? You guys are still working your way up. Some of you are very mutated. So you're still driven by your hormones. And that is your reality. That's why I'm saying that I have been cleaning up my Facebook of people that just, that want to profess and debate with me everything. And you don't always have to agree, but you don't always have to say it. You just have to understand that this is where I'm at based upon where my biochemistry is. Okay? And so when I see that I have the absence of these very strong emotions that elicit people making decisions, and sometimes they don't make the right decisions, guess what? Because the reason why? Because they're driven by an emotion. They're driven by an emotion. This emotion is their reality. And I'm great you're open-minded to listen, Kevin. Okay? because that's key. That is key, because this is where I'm at. I can't force somebody to understand where I'm at. But if you understand the context of where I'm at, then this is where it needs to be. Then, yeah, you need to be open and hearing, because if you're on Jilly Juice, you can't like half-ass do Jilly Juice. Because if you half-ass doing Jilly Juice, these other, what happens is the matrix and the hormones and everything start taking over. Then that becomes your reality. Right now, I am looking at, I don't have this crazy, I love my husband, but what is love for your husband, right? It's level of commitment. It is, we're on the same goals, the same trajectory. We're working to maybe buy a house in the future. We're working towards, being healthy in the future. We're working towards enjoying our life. We're working towards creating our future. Now, he may not be doing Jilly Juice 100%, which means that he's not getting control of his hormones. He still loves sex. He's still, all that stuff. But I can still align myself and still be okay with our current goals that are aligned. Okay, because we have, a business relationship, because we're married. We have a relationship with common ground. He respects where I'm going. I'm respecting what he's doing. So that mutual respect. Yes, he's more hornier than I am. That to him is love. And I love and I will take care of him because we have a common goal. No different than my relationship with Kevin. I want to make sure that Kevin's taken care of in the way that makes sense based upon the context of our relationship. Because we have a common ground. He's proven himself. My husband's proven himself. I don't just give out, 100% trust to just anybody. You have to kind of earn it and prove it. So love is not even in the equation. Now, you can grow to love somebody because but is it really love, or is the fact that you finally figured out you have common interests, that you can actually hang out together and there's not always explosions and rockets and disagreements. You're going to have disagreements, yes, because there's misunderstandings, there's cultural differences that you have to, figure out a happy medium. And so when I say stuff on Facebook, right, this is what I'm working through. Now, maybe I'm in the middle of the healing process where right now it's devoid of these hormones that are influencing my thoughts, but who knows? Could something happen in the future that may change that? Possibly, but this is exactly where I'm at now. Could it change in 2 or 3 weeks? Hell yeah, because guess what? We are dealing with biochemistry. We have no idea what the ultimate outcome is. We have no idea. But this is the journey that I'm on based upon a universal body that is no different than all of yours. So we can't possibly begin to even say what we think we know today is going to be gospel for the future forever. But it'll be the future for you possibly because you're going to be on that trajectory, the same trajectory, just like you're dealing with waterfalls. First is taking the drink, then it's waterfalls, then you're dealing with healing symptoms, and then you'll have, an awakening where you're not going to be triggered. These are universal outcomes that's going to happen for everybody. But then you have to not also be totally, still stuck in your programming of whatever that currently is, whether it's your religion. Because if you don't believe at all that immortality is possible, then yeah, you're going to stop at some point. Because let me tell you, it's not easy doing this protocol. So if you're a religious type, you may do this as a side dish to help maintain, certain digestive issues, but you ain't going to do it in the level that I'm doing it because guess what? It's not comfortable. You're not committed. So anyone that does this protocol that's a religious type and does it 100%, balls to the wall, they do the right amount of salts, they don't lessen the salt like Kelly Harris did, and still in their religion, they may see a difference in how they view their religion. And that is scary for a lot of people when their perceptions of, that they thought were real are actually maybe not, that it may actually change over time. Okay, so this is the thing. This is exactly where I'm at. So that's why I don't care if you guys agree with me or not, because you never know. It may change in in the next freaking 2 or 3 weeks. But this is the revelations that I have now that I see, that I understand, that I get. So it's irrelevant if you agree. That's why I don't want disagreements, because there's no point in it. Because when you disagree with me, it says that your way is better. No, I'm just giving you exactly my perspective on this. It's not about whose ideas are better and are the truth, because we don't even know the truth. We're just going through, because right now you're just a manifestation. Like, your actions are based upon your biochemistry. But I'll tell you what, Kevin, give yourself a couple more months and you hit hard on the protocol, you may be exactly where I'm at. But right now you're not yet. So of course you're not going to agree. Now, being open-minded, that's great, because these are seeds that I'm going to plant, that when you do finally get to this point, because this is like, in a way, this is almost like a curriculum. Okay, I'm actually creating a curriculum, and I'm not even creating it like, consciously. These are the different checkpoints of where you are in this protocol. And some are going to challenge some people's programming, and they may stop at this certain checkpoint. They may not can't get behind the whole thing of maybe questioning their religion. And then they stop because they want to confirm that their thought process is true. And God forbid that they go beyond that it would challenge their current mode of thinking. So that's when they stop. And then say, yeah, I did the juice, and I don't see where she's going. And you don't know what they're doing. They could have stopped the protocol, won't get to that next level, whatever that is. Okay. And then Kristen is, I'm on par from this end, needed to hear this view for sure. Perfect thing, reality check. Yeah, it really is. So the whole thing with the love thing, because people can give off love without any type of logic, and that's why people get in trouble. That's why misconceptions in relationships happen. That's why manipulation happens in relationships. That's why a lot of things happen, because we think that this is love, and love automatically is respect and alignment and this and that. No, it's just a hormone. You're just driven by a biological instinct, and then you're using that as an example of what should be. And then when a person, like, you have expectations. So when you fall in love with somebody, you have expectations, because you're thinking, oh yeah, the sex is so great and all that. That means that they're going to be a great partner. They're going to be a great mother. They're going to be a great this. And then they find out when they marry this person based upon sex that they don't have anything that would exemplify a good mother or a good partner or good with whatever it is it takes to have a relationship. So that's why the hormones can be very deceptive. And that's why you see so much deception in the matrix. Because when people are dying, they get creative and they deceive. They don't do it intentionally, but it's deception. Look at the different priests that are out there. Look at the people in politics. Look at people that are spiritual advisors that are doing horrible things. It's deceptive. Okay, so love can be very deceptive. And it's very difficult for people to wrap their mind around that, because they are programmed by the whole love programming. So once you can explain what love actually is, it is basically a hormone. Now you understand the laws, so you don't believe all the stories around love. When you are giving yourself without protecting yourself, because your excuse is you come from love. These people, these evangelists that go to that island, and they ignore all logic, but they're full of love of Jesus. Oh, Jesus, I love you, Jesus, I love you, Jesus. And everybody has to be freaking Jesus. Excuse my language, sorry. Everybody has to be Jesus. Everybody has to meet Jesus. Everybody needs to be Christian. And so these warnings that you're going to die if you go to this island, all these natives that want to kill people that want to go on. Yeah. So they ignore the logic. They ignore the protection. And they go on this island knowing exactly, they were warned, do not go to this island. You will die from the natives who don't want visitors, strangers. And then guess what? They die. That is an extreme example of when love for something gets in the way of logic. That is the example. And we see this in relationships. We see that type of scenario on a lesser severity level in relationships, business relationships. You see it in marriages. You see it in families. Some people will love their kids to death, and then they will give their kid everything, not realizing that what they're doing is actually enabling their child learned helplessness. Okay? So love can be very deceptive. So those are major examples of love gone awry. And there's points in between. And then there's balance. Okay? Okay, so any type of attachment or emotion around any story made up of words is based upon hormones. Words are just words. It's the emotion around these words is what drives people, what influences people to think a certain way or be a certain way or have a specific viewpoint. You talk about Jilly juice. It conjures up a love emotion and it conjures up a hate emotion. Because the ones that don't know about Jilly juice don't have any emotion. They're like, what the hell is Jilly juice? But what people have done is they've taken Jilly juice and they've created emotion around it. They've put words that have emotions around it and create meanings around it. And this is what causes the love and hate and the trolls and the people that love Jilly juice and hate Jilly juice. I want Jilly juice to be Jilly juice. There's no love or hate. It's just straight up. This is information. This is straight up information. But remember, people are run by hormones. So they love Jilly juice, which is great, which is fine for me that you love Jilly juice. But then what happens is you share it with people, think that everyone else is going to love it because you love it. And then you get knocked down and then you get surprised. And you're like, oh my God, right? And then you get injured. So you can't love Jilly juice either. You got to just be able to throw out information with no emotion. It's like either you read the information or you don't. You want to live or you want to die. Those are the two options you have. You read and understand, or you reject and die. Either way, the evidence is out there. So yeah, people that used to love me and then I held them accountable for something, or they were being all emotional about something and I held them accountable, then they hated me because they only loved me until I crossed them. And that's what happens with empaths. You only deserve their love if you follow what they say. Me, I don't have any love for anybody. I have utmost respect that we are aligned on the same goal, the same foundation. Because when you bring love into it, you can have a love and respect. I mean, people love to use the word love, like, oh, I love my parents, yes, because they raised me. I respect my parents because they gave me this foundation. But to be just love and that's it, no, I love and respect. When we use just the word love, it's like saying we have no other balancing force out there to check if the love is truly love, or is it just, deception? Is it a way to control? Is it, is there an intention behind it? It's crazy. Okay. So here's the thing. I love and respect my husband without emotion. Now, if he were to have an issue, yes, I would have an emotion because that would have been a trauma to me. Because when something happens to somebody that is bad, that is your adrenaline. That is a fight or flight. That is a hormone that protects you to get you into action, to go, and you can do superhuman things when your adrenaline is running. When people are adrenaline junkies, they are always inducing this hormone, and eventually it's going to wear them out and take them down. But you need adrenaline to keep you going in times of emergencies. But if you're always stressed out, like in jail or in a war-torn country, and you're living off adrenaline, that isn't good either. It's all about balance. So, I love and respect my husband without emotion. And then if something were to happen about life or death, I'm going to make sure he lives, do everything I can to make sure he lives. My adrenaline will kick in. That hormone will kick in to make sure he's taken care of in whatever manner that needs to be done. So I don't just love my husband. I respect him as a sentient being who values his life and is working through his own healing process. And he respects my journey. And we are both committed in a partnership. I don't have this love thing, right? I can have sex with him and it's fine. Is it like this powerful hormone that creates, tantric fireworks? No, I told him I'm not a porn star. He'll get his, and that's fine. Okay? But that's it. So, I'm not trying to, to fool anyone into thinking that, oh gosh. Now, I'm sure when I was younger, women, women who are trying to get married, and I was one of them, we used hormones. We used the hormones to find a way to land a man because that is what we were taught, to use our body, to use our mind, to use whatever it took to land a guy. And then hormones calm down because you're not in that survival mode of trying to land, and people say, oh, I don't, we were friends first. Don't give me that BS. Because that there's programming out there. There's a Madonna and there's a whore programming out there. Of course, a good woman would be a Madonna whore, both Madonna and a whore. Madonna in the streets and a whore in the bedroom, right? Type of thing. But that's all the programming. So, what is the future for people when they get together? It's still going to be based upon, well, it'll be mutual. It'll be mutual respect. Maybe you do have separate bank accounts. Maybe, who knows? You don't want to be alone. So, I mean, there's going to be so many, a different way of relating. And maybe people don't want to merge their businesses together, or they get prenups, something. Okay. So, and this is when Julie Soche, she's like, Jillian, I don't agree with you. And I don't believe in immortality. I don't think Jilly just can do this and this. And this is what I did. I just totally deleted her off my Facebook page because she's part of the Hebrew Messianic crowd. And I don't care if you don't agree with me. It makes no difference to me. Because just because you don't agree with me doesn't mean that it dismantles my truth. Now, if, I'm not pushing my truth onto you, I'm just saying this is where I'm at. This is what I have been experiencing, and this is my take on it. When you say you don't agree with me, it's because you're saying that your way is better and my way sucks. When you go on someone's page, premeditating, going on there saying, I either agree with you or don't agree with you, you are now imposing that your way is better and my way has absolutely no relevance and you don't want to hear it. Now, the fact that Kevin said that he's open to hearing it, he saved himself. Because that when he said, oh, I don't really agree about the love thing, I'm like, is that necessary? There's no reason to say you don't agree with somebody. Who cares? This is their truth. This is where they're at. This is based upon their biochemistry. Of course you're not going to agree because you're not where I'm at. Is where I'm at better or worse? No, I've never said that. But that's your take on it, which is why you're reacting and having this agree or disagree. See, I'm not posting to say, hey, agree or disagree. I'm posting to give you exactly where I'm at, and this is my take. And does this resonate with you? Does this make sense? And some of you, like Chris, says, yes, this makes sense. Great. And some of you are like, oh yeah, she's full of hogwash, mean, angry face. Okay, where does that get you? So we're at an impasse. Right, we have all our truths are based on our biochemistry. That's right, Kevin. All of our truths are based on our biochemistry. And not everyone is going to be aligned at the same time. Some of you that are, that's freaking awesome. Some of us have very, very similar biochemistry, so we get each other. And we don't have to work very hard to get each other. And some people are not even there, and then you don't even bother because they're not even willing to open up their mind to listen because they're already telling you that they don't agree. So guess what? It's already lost, so it doesn't even matter. They're irrelevant. So that's why I delete and block, because I don't believe in wasting my time on someone who's not even willing to open their own mind. They're already set in their ways, so there's no freaking point. And that's going to be how you're going to preserve and conserve your energy. You're not going to be shouting at a wall that doesn't care about what the hell you're doing. Oh, but they're full of love. They're all about love. Love, 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 love. I'm all about love. And they're so equally sweet, but you see that there's a viper somewhere in the background because I just challenged their whole reality. And that's why Kelly Harris and I parted ways a long time ago, because I was challenging her religion, and then she lessened the salt. So that was a nail in the coffin. Probably why Angie and I, broke up too. Okay. So it doesn't escape me that why religious types will tend to go a different way. Now there are some, like some of the Jehovah's Witnesses, not all of them, can understand where I'm coming from. I mean, I have a Jehovah's Witness on my Facebook right now, Christina Morris. Okay, so it's not all religious types. There's some that just really can't get out of their own way, and they're full of love, full of hormones, and so they can't hear anything else but their own stories. So that's fine. I don't go and try to convert them. That's not my choice. That's not my goal, is to convert people. My goal is to give you information because you're suffering. If you're suffering, here's a way to not suffer. And Krista goes, I'm experiencing this exactly right now. It's really an eye-opener. Not triggered by anger anymore, but the love part caught up with me and has been a focus for me. Right. Right. So you go from not being angry to going to love. It's no different than if you're going from alcohol to then going to cannabis, or you're going from drugs to then going to working out. You trade one for the other. When you see someone's, because some people are so damaged out there, right? They were so angry and so damaged, and then they go right from the opposite, from being, angry and damaged and full of PTSD to now full of love. Just like people that go to jail, they find God. Do you see this whole thing? They find God. It's an extreme. These born-again Christians, that horrible childhood, they end up in jail in the most stressful environment ever. And all of a sudden, man, they are born again and they found, the end-all be-all. That is a sign of trading one addiction for the other, going from one extreme to the other. The whole thing with the mainstream versus the conspiracy. I was doing that extreme. I was a mainstreamer, totally about prescription drugs, finding a pill to deal with my PMDD, all that stuff. Nothing worked. And then I found the conspiracy community, and then bam, the pendulum swung the other freaking way. And I was on that freaking road for 5 or 6 years. My husband going like, what the hell? You are so full of negativity. Well, damn. And then finally, I'm now more in the middle, straddling both worlds. Well, please explain what you mean by the love thing, Kevin. I would like to hear your perspective on what you're getting. That's good. So, yeah, okay. So love is so when you have a love, then you have hate. Anything you have a complete opposite to, it's extremes. From love to hate, to black and white, to this and that. And there's some extremes are that are necessary. Life and death. You either want life or you want death. I mean, those are the two choices. Either you understand or you don't understand. Okay, I mean, it's as simple as that. There is no story that we need to dress around this. Either you read Jillian's information, you understand, or you don't. You read it to understand and you do it, then you live. And people are like, well, how can you say this? Well, hey, this is where then my book comes into play, the science. Been substantiated by academia. Not said in so many words, or academia wouldn't be around trying to find another cure for another disease, but it's there. The information. All right. So love is a major emotional trigger, and it is a hormonal-driven feeling that is adopted by so many people who believe stories, but don't understand the laws. Finally, I've been able to weed out those that really truly don't understand Jilly Juice, or if they do, they can only go so far, and it shows. And that's exactly what the religious type is, that they love Jilly Juice up to a certain point until I challenge their programming, and that's where they stopped. And I know it happens, and I'm okay with that because I know not everybody can. That's why Mary Ellen and I, are not, hanging out and friends with each other. Because she stopped at the spiritual side. She couldn't get past where I was at with the spiritual side. Okay, and I had a whole spiritual journey last summer over in Portugal. Not only did I get, influences from Sasha Daygame and then Peter Sage and the Divine and all that stuff, right? Then I went to a Catholic site that had, a lot of things happen over there. Okay, so I really got a touch of the spirituality and the different programmings that go along with all of that. Okay, so I definitely did some exploration last summer, major exploration. So some people will only go so far with me because it does challenge their programming. So Chris McGinn, I used to love everyone and try and help everyone, and I'm back at that point. I thought it was better, healed, and on this new path of pro-life, but I'm seeing that your post may have been overboard and not as clear-headed. Right, because then you love someone and then you allow some viper in your midst, you got to have discernment. Love without discernment is dangerous. Those are the people that will go and feed the homeless in the really bad areas and then will die because they will go in really, really bad areas. Or they get stabbed or they get injured because they don't have that fight or flight. They don't have that balance to understand how to protect themselves. I see it in friends of mine, and they're degrading now in the system. They had a major incident, a physical incident, and now they're degrading. That's why I am the way I am, which pisses people off. They're like, oh, you need to help people, Jillian. You got to stop laying down the law. You got to stop being tough love. Sorry, but has it gotten us anywhere when you totally just cater to someone's inability to help themselves? Guess what? They do, when you, what is it, that one meme that I put? When you don't hold your kids accountable, when you pay for your kids' mistakes in their childhood, you'll be paying for an attorney in their adulthood. That's exactly right. Because of people who like love, love, love with no discernment behind it. And that's what challenges a lot of people who are, in specific religions or something else. Strictly only, I'm here, this is where I'm processing, so yeah, I'm going through it all. Strictly only love energy is a negative emotion caused by an imbalance of hormonal-driven trajectory. Don't let the stories around love fool you. New Agers and some religious types will justify triggering the death trajectory of love to justify inducing hormonal addiction. When you go to church or when you go to different types of gatherings, church, anything with group action induces hormones. It's a pleasure center. Literally, church is a pleasure center. So are concerts. So is any type of group think, any type of activist. It's a pleasure center. So the fact that we are relatively divided, it's a good thing, which means that humanity is not on a death trajectory. This is what I mean by maybe divided, we don't fall. Maybe divided is a good thing. Because if we all united, it means that humanity is really under attack. If we had aliens attacking us, we wouldn't care if you were anti-vax or pro-vax. We wouldn't care if you're GMO versus organic. We wouldn't care because we have aliens attacking us, okay? It's about imminent danger. When you have a shooter in a mall, no one asks if you're pro-vax or anti-vax. No, they're like, hey, come over here, get away from the shooter. This is imminent danger. You're going to protect someone regardless of their skin color, their political leanings, their whatever. You're not going to care because you're in imminent danger. It's fight or flight. So the fact that we're divided is a good freaking thing because you're not in imminent danger. If humanity was in imminent danger, we would all be collectively united, regardless of our political leanings, in our color, in our gender, or anything. Okay? So, triggers induce emotions, creates hormones equals dependency. Well, there you go. Triggers induce emotions. When you watch TV, when you read Facebook, I've unfollowed a lot of people on my Facebook, a lot. Because they're, when someone says something that is like, pro-death type of stuff, I drink my juice to help take care of that mutation. Even what someone says. So when kids get constantly criticized in their childhood, that is a mutation. Okay, when kids are so dumped by love, that's a mutation because there's no boundaries, there's no held accountable, right? And then when kids are constantly being criticized and being, the hammer on them, that's another mutation. And that's a PTSD. And then it shapes them. And then they have all these crazy emotions when someone exemplifies that, in the future. And that's why you have damaged people because of their childhood, because they haven't fixed the mutations from their childhood. So triggers induce emotions creates hormones equals dependency, because now they have to take drugs or they're sick or they have to find someone that caters to a specific, their pleasure center because they're so full of pain. Okay, so, this is how these things happen. There's information and then there's emotions around the information. Life is existing with life-giving energy indefinitely. It is not an emotion. It is neither love or so life is neither love or hate or disgust or sarcasm or sorrow or happiness. So emotions equals hormones equals imbalance. Okay. So, so, when you have emotions, a lot of emotions, whether it's love or hate or anger or disgust or depression or all that, you are now creating hormones, lots of hormones. Okay. And then when you have too much of one hormone being created, because you're always going to have one that's going to be a bit more prominent over the other, then you have an imbalance. When you're not emotional, you're not triggering hormones. You're coming from a very logical, like Spock or Data, but you're on a life trajectory. When you're unemotional on a life trajectory, you're making wise choices based upon life. When you're unemotional on a death trajectory, you have absolutely no care about life or death, and so you'll kill regardless. That's the wrong way to be. Okay. All right. And then, yeah, and glad for those who are keeping up with the meat, because deep programming is difficult, especially the love programming. The love programming was especially hard to overcome. And this is why I had such difficulties with the empaths. So I remember when I said about empaths, and I was questioning about, what's up with this empaths? They say they love, but man, they are so judgmental. And I say they because there's a lot of empaths that I had on my Facebook that as soon as I did not fit in their whole empath love sphere, it was straight up hate. It was straight up judgmental. It was straight up cold, mean. Like seriously. Like they didn't realize that their love was also damaging because it's an extreme. When you love something, then you also will hate something because as soon as that person falls off their pedestal, bam, the hate comes right in. Unemotional on a death trajectory is like, okay, you're right, Kevin, you're right. So that's what I'm saying. So when you come straight up from love, you better watch out for those that love you so much. Those are the stalker types. Those are the ones that are very imbalanced. The fans, they love their, Def Leppard. They love it all. But as soon as Def Leppard falls off their pedestal and they do something horribly that crosses them, then the hate comes in. And so I noticed that with people that said they love me. I have people on my Facebook that said, oh, I love Jillian, I love Jillian. As soon as I said something or did something that wasn't exactly, bam, the hate just went right in. As soon as I didn't align with their expectations, the hate came right in. So I'm very leery of anyone that says, oh, I love you. I like someone that has a balance, that says, hey, you're great, and this is why you're great. Or this is why I agree with you. Or I totally get on board with you. But I can sense those that are like, oh, I love you. You're like, damn. And it's okay to love somebody. I mean, that's fine. Love is not a horrible emotion, but it can be imbalanced. So you got to be very careful with the whole love thing, okay? Because then you lose your discernment and you lose logic. All right, there's that. Yeah, so there's that. There that is. So I've had to work through this. This is definitely difficult. But hopefully oh, Kevin said, well, I'm glad I listened. I totally understand what you mean now. I can comment. That's okay. Kevin, it's reaction. I used to have a guy say, I love you after 4 days. Oh my God, Krista, I know, right? Yeah, Kevin, Kevin, it's a reaction. It's perfect because it challenges people's programming. When someone completely says, I disagree with you, I just challenge their programming. For them to actually write, I disagree with you, they're inadvertently, indirectly imposing their view by saying that my view is shit. That's why I don't let anybody troll my Facebook because I don't care if you have a view that you think is better than mine. I don't go on your Facebook and say you suck or I don't agree with you or something, right? So it's one of those things where that's why, I've had these gut reactions to stuff. And my gut knew about the empaths. I've had dealings with empaths that were not very savory. You guys have seen some of my dealings with some of the empaths on my page. Okay. So my gut knew. I just couldn't articulate at the time because I've been working through it and my biochemistry is going up and down and I'm going through my roller coaster stuff. So, this is the truth that I have based upon the context that I'm in. It's irrelevant if you agree or disagree because it doesn't matter. But if you listen to what I'm saying and you understand the context that I'm in, you're not just somebody that just came on my Facebook now wanting to refute what I'm saying because it totally completely triggers your programming, but you've actually listened to me for a while and you get it. There's no reason to say you agree or disagree. Because if you disagree, who cares? You still do the protocol. You may have a different truth in the next 2 or 3 months. You hit the Jilly juice hard, you may have a very different truth than what you have today. You may actually agree with me, but I can never predict that, so I don't care if you agree or disagree. That's the whole point. That's what's a trip about this. It's way weird. Okay. I'm gonna go do what I do, but I wanted to just say hi to you guys. Merry Christmas. It's Christmas Eve, right? But I have no decorations up. The only things I know about Christmas, when I look at my neighbor's yard and I see all of their plastic toys and lights looking really weird during the day, but look really awesome at night. But that's it, you know. One day when my husband and I get a house, we will have a tree. And I don't care if it's satanic or not. I don't care if it's Krampus. I don't care. All of that programming around the holidays and Satanism and all that stuff is out the window. I don't care. I have great memories having a tree as a kid. I was raised Jewish? Yes. We did Hanukkah? Yes. We had a Christmas tree in our house. My dad put up Christmas lights around our house. We were Reformed Jews. We weren't Orthodox. We weren't even conservative. We were Reformed Jews. And Reformed Jews is we had the tree. We had Christmas dinner. We had Thanksgiving. We had Easter baskets full of the Easter candy. Fun. I don't care what the origins came from it. I really don't care. It's the memories and the meaning that you create today is what creates what Christmas and the holidays are in the future. Not what happened in the past, because everyone's so worried about the past. Let's create the future. Okay? So, yes, I'm going to have a tree maybe next year. All right, you guys have a good day. Kevin, you enjoy Belgium. I was looking actually your address in Belgium. I was looking at the Google. That place is clean. Belgium is clean. Oh my God, it's cleaner than Ohio. It's like Europe is clean. Well, some parts of Europe. And Krista, you have a great one. All of you guys have a good one, okay? I appreciate all of you listening. I really do. And enjoy your families and friends. Okay? I'll talk to you later.